Hi guys, and welcome back to Wade's Workshop and another episode with the Stuart Models S50. Yeah, S50 steam engine. And in this episode we're going to be finish off the spinny bits, shall we call them, by doing the crankshaft. Now, fairly simple, bit of 2BA going on, and a critical dimension, which is the distance between the centre of the crank and the pivot point where the crankshaft goes on, or where the push rod, should we call it, goes on. And that dimension determines the stroke of the engine. So it's going to be 5/8, I believe, of an inch offset from the centre hole in the crank to the pivot pin. So yeah, you'll see as we go along. Anyway, I hope you enjoy it, guys. Crank web, 1.5" diameter mild steel. A little bit faster than that, I think. Yeah, there we are. What are we doing? 650. As usual, face it off. Now the overall thickness of this finish is going to be 3/16 of an inch. I got quite a chunk of steel, so they've been quite generous. It shows a diameter on the radii on the outside, 1.5 inches, but this bar actually measures up at 1.5 inches. So in the interest of making it look nice, it's going to be a scratch pass on the OD, just to clean it up through. So let's see, I've just touched off. A little more. It feels as though it's cleaned up there. Let me have a quick look. There's a little mark there still. Okay, tiny bit more. A whisper. I bet it wasn't a thou. Let's just have a quick look. So that's cleaned up. Right, fair bit of machining to do on this. There's a step down here, 7/6 diameter with a radius, so that's going to be a radius cutter. And overall thickness is going to be 3/16. I think I'm going to have a dig in behind it about 1/4 thick and get a parting tool in there. No reason I can't do the face and do the, I think it's 2BA through the centre. So yeah, I think I'll do that first. So 7/16, just under 1/2 inch. Lost my reference for the face. We'll call it there. So 1/16 wide step. For some reason my DRO, when I switch off and switch on again, goes default to millimeters. I didn't realise it did that. Okay, 16, so yeah, 60 or so, 62.5 is it? There's 20. Throwing a little burr in front of the cutter there. We'll rough it down. So 7/16. I'll stop about there. That's oversized. And I think I'll go to 60 sow with a shoulder, and then we'll change to a radius cutter. That's 40. 50. 59. Get out. Gonna go 62, and I'll be whispering off here with a radius cutter, I think. I think I'll get a diameter. Shouldn't stick my fingers in there. Oh, it's going on its own, is it? No. Yeah, that's 62. I think what I'll do is just set a diameter here, and I got a ballpark. I know how deep I've got to cut. Okay, so I think we change to a rad cutter now. What have I got? Ooh, that tool set in there like that looks about right. Okay, so I just done a bit of working out, about 128.5 thou from when I touch. So that's going to be 64 thou approximately. So I'm going to get to a touch, set a 0, go 64 thou from there. Okay, there's a touch. So that's it. I'll come back to the outside edge. Just go in, tiny bounce. Maybe a little more than that. Maybe half a thou. Winding across that face. Back to my 64. And out. Okay, so theoretically that diameter there should be 7/16. If it's not, we'll start all over again. 431 I'm measuring at a rough guess. Yeah, it's probably a little larger. I'm happy with that. So this is the one side. Do I want a little break edge? I'm going to be machining a lot of the sides away. I think I am going to put a chamfer on the outside edge, but just minimal. Oh, still got my carriage locked. Just a touch of a break edge on there. Ooh. I think that'll do. Just a tiny little one. Right, I need to get a parting blade in now, and I think I'll part it off about a 1/4 inch thick in total. So there's my parting blade. Come out here somewhere. Let's just get a parallel on there. Get it sat nicely there. And touch. Okay, set a 0. And I am going to part it off at a 1/4. I'm going to leave a 1/16 on. So 250. Lock the carriage. Are we looking? We've got enough stuck out by about 3mm. Now I'm jumping ahead of myself here. I need to drill it and tap it 2BA. So we shall get on with that. Let's just put a chuck up. I'll put a little spot drill in there. what can we have? I don't know, 4mm. 4mm spot drill. Okay, 2BA tapping drill, I believe, is a standard metric one. Let me just think. 2BA is 4mm. Okay, that makes life easy. Huh, that was handy. I did grab a 4mm spotting drill, thinking that's about it. So 4mm drill. Again, as per usual, I haven't got things prepared. There's a 4mm drill. Oh, and I want to go in, let's say, well, the part is 3/16. We'll call it a quarter. So I want to go in 6mm with this drill, something like that. I'll go in a little further. 8mm. Touch. Okay, that should do me. So 2BA, I'm going to find my 2BA tap now. So yeah, I've had these ones for years, 2BA set of Presto taps, because I do a lot of work with darts. It's a tap that I had before I got into this model malarkey, which seems to be using BA all the time. Right, okay, I've got a datum for that, so let's just move that tool out of the way. We'll have a little bit of tapping oil. I'll probably put a plug tap in here. In fact, if I started off with this, I'll be able to tap it by hand later. So let's just hand tap this. Tool's in the way. Basically get the majority of the thread in there. And then when I take it off, I shall tap it before I do the other side. Or tap it through to make sure that it's fully tapped. Okay. I think a little chamfer on that leading edge might be a good idea at this point. I'll do that now. This is the point here on this side that the axle is going to actually screw into against the shoulder, so tiny little brake edge chamfer on there. Yeah, we got it. Did we? Yes. Okay, so back to where I was, parting off. I already set my 250 there, or I set my datum. Let's have that chuck out the way. Oh dear me, it's just off shot, but it's sort of hindering a little. Right, this is going to be fun, trying to part this off. It's 1.5" diameter mild steel. We could get a bit of chatter here. I'll use some of my preferred fluid. I think that is way too fast. That's 400, we'll try that. I think I'm on a brush. Not that one. That'll do. Get a good bit loaded up on the brush. That's better. I know I'm not going to get all the way through. Hold on. Right in shot there. know I'm not going to get the full depth with this because my grooving tool isn't deep enough. But I'll go as deep as I can. Hold on, you probably can't hear me. That's cutting lovely, that. I'll go as deep as I can and finish it off with a hacksaw. I think I can go in probably about 40, a couple mil more. So I'm sure you didn't want to see me with a hacksaw. I put a piece of board down and we've just chopped that off. And we've got a 16th to come off that back face, but that's fine. And as you can see, I probably had about, I don't know, maybe 5/8 of an inch diameter to saw through, but only took a minute. So we've already tapped it most of the way through. I'll just finish it off by hand here. Right, okay, so yeah, make a spindle up now, or something with a 2BA thread on the end of it, and we can put this up and tidy up the other side of this. So I've done myself a little sketch of what's going to be the main crankshaft. Yeah, it's basically my quarter stock silver steel, overall length 2 3/8, quarter stock as I said, and over 732 on the end is a 2BA thread. I'm just going to have to look up what the OD is of a 2BA. My Zeus book doesn't show that. It shows tapping drills, clearance drills. It doesn't show the effective or the overall diameter of the thread. So I'm going to have to look that back, and I'll come back and we'll move on to the lathe and start machining the diameter on the end over 732 long, a little bit of undercut, and I've got a 2BA die which we're going to run up the end afterwards. So over to the lathe. I've got my collet chuck set up. The quarter bar is in the collet chuck, so that won't get damaged on the diameter. And what's rubbing? A drawbar washer in the back of my headstock. The drawbar for the collet chuck is just rubbing on the guard slightly. Bear with me. Just pick that guard up a little. Does this sometimes. When I made the little bushing, it can be very close. That sounds better. There, got rid of that rubbing noise. Right. So yeah, quarter silver steel, 01 drill rod, whatever you want to call it, quarter of an inch. I'm going to face that end. Now the drawing doesn't show centres drilled in the ends of these, so I won't be doing it. Just set a 0 there and set myself into imperial, and it's 2188, so 219 thou. So I'm just going to get a touch off. Okay, so we need to turn it back over a length of 219 thou. I'm going to stop a bit short, probably 210. And I overran it on my DRO then and went to 220. Not to worry, we got plenty of length on this. So the diameter I'm looking for is 0.185. And I'm on 212. So I'll just set a 0 there. Okay. 6 thou side should bring me to 200. I've turned that tip round and it's cutting a lot better now. So if I take another 5 aside, that should bring me to 190, and we'll have another measure. So final measurement, let's have a look, 185.5. Okay, I'm going to put chamfer on the end, and I'm just going to have a quick look at the drawing and see if there is an undercut shown, but I think I am going to put a little undercut in. So I think my little grooving tool might give me enough for an undercut in there. Let's have a quick look. There. Yeah, I'm going to try it. So I've just put a little undercut groove at the back. I'm just going to come into that shoulder. Just going to face that back shoulder and set a 0. Go into the undercut. Then I'm going to come back to 218, 219 thou. There. Just face the overall length. And I think I'll swap to a little chamfering tool and give myself a lead into the thread. Be quite generous with that. Okay. There is the slightest of burrs on that top corner. I don't want to put a radius on it. Just give it an oil stone on it, can I? Yeah, let's try that. Okay, just broken the leading edge of the quarter diameter with an oil stone. So we're ready to run a die down that. I've got a 2BA die. Okay, so I've just run the die down the thread there, using the tailstock to keep it square. I didn't have a die holder suitable, so I improvised, and I'm not going to tell you how I improvised. Anyway, being a split die, you've got to be very careful clamping on the outside because you can close the split die right up. But that actually screws on there really nicely, right up to the shoulder. Okay. So taking the discs that we made earlier, okay, that's up against that shoulder now. So I think the next procedure is going to be to gently face this to the correct width. First impressions, it doesn't look very nice, but then again, we'll have a look. A little bit fast. And back base is throwing. That's no good. Let me see what's going on. A little investigation here. Wonder if I've thrown something up with the die in here. I've got a little burr on the surface of this spaced edge. I'm just going to run that on some wet and dry, flatten that off, try again. And I might just revisit this face now that I've run the die down it. I think that's okay. So I'm just going to put some stud lock on here. Doesn't need a lot. That should do it. Okay, and screw the cap on, or the crank, or the end of the crank, what's going to be the crank. Let me just get a piece of paper Okay, so let's see how that looks. I have put it on there before and just skimmed a bit off this front face, but I'm quite happy with it. So yeah, it looks good. I think I just need to face this flange thickness to an 1/8 now. So we'll get on with that. We just had a quick measure. We're measuring up at 127 thou. Final cut 2 thou. I've given all the surfaces a quick polish up now, as is my norm on this model. Right, so we can take it out of the chuck and we'll look at doing the shapes on the end of here. So I've got a bit of a contraption set up here. Rotary table, zeroed out, clamped down with an MT2 ER32 collet in the taper. I've got a draw bolt in here with a nut on the underside, so I've had to raise the table up onto some parallels. I'm going to have to make myself a bespoke draw bolt so that I can fit this collet chuck in. Anyway, that's another story for another day. So zeroed out on the table, so at 0 degrees. Doesn't matter what angle the table's on, I don't have to square it up, I'm just starting on 0 degrees. So picking up the center here, and I was 10 at the back there. Let's just have a quick look here. Okay, 30. That's 30, so I'm guessing about 20 is the mark. So 20 there. If I go to the back, set that at 20. We should be in the territory now. 20, 18. Can't see that one. 22. Okay. Not quite on 20 there. Let's just drop back a bit. 20 that side. 21. 20. Maybe and a half. If I just get around the back. Yeah, 20 and a half. I think I should be aiming for around 20 and a half. That's 21. Just a half thou back. Too much. Just going to lock that y-axis. 20 and a half. Miles out. Just playing with the X, 20 and a half. 20 and a half. 20 and a half. It's just... So I've just put a centre drill in the collet. And I'm smack bang in the middle. Now the drawing calls for a 5BA hole, offset 5/8 of an inch. So I'm going to use the DRO and wind across, open up the X, 5/8 of an inch. Which is 625 thou. Which is, I'm going to be as accurate as I can be with this. Smack on. Nope. That's 624.8. 625 thou. Apologies for the noises in the background, guys. There's a bit of building work going on just 2 doors up from me. So that's the extremity. Let me just check on the drawing, make sure that looks quite close to the edge. Yes, it's right, and the distance is 5/8. So I'm basically going to centre drill a little hole in here, and I've got a 2.1 pilot on this centre drill. And I'm only supporting this by the spindle, so I'm being quite gentle. In fact, I might even put a little bit of cutting oil on there. Okay. And the reason I'm using the collet, apologies for the noises again guys, is because I haven't got the height. That's at maximum height, or very nearly maximum height. I've got about another 50 mil to travel up. But if I put my drill chuck in the collet, as you can see, I lose all that. I'm running a bit short. So I'll swap over to a drill now. So number 37 drill. As you can see, I put the part off, or standing off from the collet to give me clearance on the underneath. And that's purely for this drilling. Okay. That's the hole in. I think we'll tap it now in our usual method. So that we know we've tapped it square and I'm not moving anything. So I still haven't got round to making a little button for the 5BA tap where I could use a follower. So it's not too small, 5BA. Gentle downward pressure. I can feel it following. At least I know I've got it straight. It's in the collet. Can't quite see underneath. Couple more turns, I think. If that needs tapping any deeper, I'll do it when I've taken it out by hand. Okay, there's the offset, 5/8 of an inch from centre. Now for the fun bit. So we've just done the whole 5/8 offset. Right, we need to machine the sides now to this angle. The drawing is to scale, and I'm going to scale this included angle off the drawing with a protractor to give us ballpark. Not huge, you don't have to be hugely accurate with this, but this is the method I'm going to use. Right, the drawing shows the distance of the widest part across the flats in this plane as 1 inch and 13/64, so 1.203 inches. So if I divide that by 2, that gives me the offset either way of 601.5 thou. Okay. So coming to the part, got an 8mm cutter up. I step back 4mm, which puts the edge of the cutter on centre line. And then I've stepped back, where have I stepped back? By 650. So I'm going to put a flat on there, 650. And I'm going to keep coming in until I get to 601.5. And I'm going to do the same on both sides. And that gives me the intersection part between what's going to be the flat and the radius. And that's a witness mark when I come to put the angles on as to how deep I've got to go. So, yeah, I hope that makes sense. It does to me. I hope it does to you as well. So right to the other side now, final cut, a couple of thou. And that's the 2 flats on there. Okay, so heading back to my drawing, what I've basically done is created a reference point of that intersection If you can imagine, I put two flats on, but not on the angle. So now what I'm going to do is rotate the angle. So I'm going to rotate the part around to the correct angle. So it'll be half of this included angle in degrees. And then machine away this remaining part, which will be, what did I do with my pen? This section here, until I get to that intersection part. I'm probably going to put some black Sharpie on here, and when I get to the point where the black Sharpie disappears, I know I've hit my dimension, and it should work out, all by the shouting, correct at the dimension here as well. Well, good news all round, really. The angle that I measured off the drawing with a protractor across two lines worked out, well, with a protractor, 30.1 degrees it looked like. So I'm taking it, it's a nominal 30 degrees, which makes it really easy, 15 degrees each way. So just undo my two locks. Oh, there. And, right, okay, 0, 0. Right, 4 degrees a turn, 15 degrees would be 3 turns and 3 degrees. So, wrong way. Ha 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 ha. Okay. 1 turn. 2 turns. 3 turns. 3 turns 2. 3 turns 2.5. 3 turns 3. I know when I set this up I was going the opposite direction, so I'm going to remove any backlash. So I'm just going to go past 3 and back to 3, lock the table. There's the 15 degrees. Okay, so I'm going to put some black Sharpie on up here now. I think you could see where I was going with that. Give it a clean up first. Put some Sharpie on and start machining. You can see I'm getting close now. Just taking, yeah, I think another 3 thou. Maybe. It should leave just the faintest amount of that black. This one I would imagine. Oh no. As you can see, if I just, yeah, there's still just the slightest amount of black Sharpie there. Probably another. I'm going to take increments of 3 thou as we're getting close, and the worst I can be out is 3 thou. Will it disappear? No, I don't think it will. No, it hasn't disappeared. Another 3 should have it. Let's do 2, shall we? Okay. Yeah, there's a line, probably the width of a Sharpie point left on there. Has it gone? It's gone. I can see scratch marks on the last bit of it. I think I'm going to run that cut back the other way again. And that's one side done. I'm not going to bore you by showing you the other side. You've seen the method of turning it 15 degrees. I just go 15 in the other direction this time. So I've completed the part. I've just put a rule across here, across these points. And it's showing inch and 13/64, and that's, you know, all by what I can see on a rule, that's correct. Okay. Scaled off the drawing, this included angle is 30 degrees, and I've done 15 aside. That was correct. So as a double sanity check, I've checked the dimension here on the drawing, which is given, and the drawing states it, or my drawing states it as 13/32. Okay, so let's just go to the part. So if I go to the part and measure the distance here, I'm behind the camera, I can't get it spot on, sorry guys. I'm getting like 1932. You know, very nearly 5/8. Now, proportionally, if I put the drawing, off of the drawing to this, it follows the scale of the drawing almost perfectly. So either the drawing isn't drawn correctly or it's not dimensioned correctly. I don't know which one it is. Obviously, if that's 1332 there, basically it's more than 15 degrees, but considerably more. But it isn't on what's shown on the drawing. So I'm a bit of a dilemma as which one's right. The good news is I can, at a future point, obviously put it back up like this and remove it down to a lower angle, coming closer to this hole. But when I see this part in reference to the drawing, it looks correct. So I'm going with my gut feeling in that the drawing says 1332 for here to here, and it should have read 1932. So, happy days. So this issue has been bugging me as to whether I've got that narrow enough at this end. I just jumped on YouTube, had a look at vintage Stuart models, people who've done these recently. My distance here looks in proportion to everybody else's. So I think at this stage I'm happy to take it out of the chuck and lose all my references. Not a problem. I can always pop it back in. Basically set the 15 degrees on the rotary table and then, you know, rotate this, clock it in, set some sort of zero datum and adjust it accordingly. So I'm going to take it out and just make sure that it will fit in the casting. 3. I haven't even deburred this yet, but I'm just making sure that the flat face will clear this little Stuart logo. And I know it doesn't. I've tried it off camera. But, as you can see, guys, to assemble it, it is so close. What do they say? Nice try, but no cigar. So it doesn't quite clear the little marks in the casting. I'm probably like 5 thou off. I think what I'm going to do is put it back up, change these angles from 15 to 16 degrees. That would allow a little more rotation. That'll bring up this tail end up away, even though the point will still be the same. Bit more clearance at the front, and I'm sure it will fit into position. So, moving on, I'm going to go for 16 degrees. Well, there we are, guys. Some you win, some you lose. I'm going to have to put it back up and skim the angles on the outside, as you can see there, to 16 degrees offset. Now, I've already done it off camera. You don't want to see the same procedure again. And 16 degrees works nicely, and it just slips over the top of the little Stuart logo. So happy days on that one. Actually, looking at the top of the Stuart logo, I could have skimmed, 5 thou off the top of that and it would have worked. But if you're making one of these yourself, go for 16 degrees if you're going to use a similar method to me, and it will work. When I put it on, I think if I were to do it again, I would leave a few thou on this inner face, and when I hold it in the inner chuck before facing off the outside, I would probably come back in with a radius tool and just true up this inside edge. Now, I did do it off camera. I could see a slight throw, where the thread and the shaft fit together. Slight throw on this, let me show, on this inner face. And I basically just tickled it off when it was in the lathe, off camera. Just to make it, make it run nice and true when it spins. And it does, as you could see when it was in the chuck. It spins smack on, none of this wobbling around. So, yeah, I would leave a little bit on this inner face when you're machining the initial machining of the flange. And just come in with a radius tool afterwards, leave it stuck out the chuck a bit and skim a little bit off this space if you've got a problem with it not being true. But, yeah, everything's to dimension. Again, this size here doesn't equate with the drawing. The size across the narrow part, across the flats, it is larger, but it does fit the casting, and well, I can always take more off. I can't put it back on again. So happy days, job's a good one. (16 degrees). Well, there we are, guys. I think that's about it for this one. Something turned up. I found it in a skip. Little 4-inch vise. Is it 4-inch? Yes, it is. Not sure what make or brand. There's no name written on it that I can see. It's got very stinking dirty. I need to clean it all up. I'm going to set this up, and I'm going to put some copper jaws in it. So make a vise with some soft jaws. So it's missing its handle, as you can see. I'm sure we can make something up for that. But yeah, nice little vise. Not much wear in it. There's no sort of play in anything. It's a bit stiff and full of grime at the moment. But yeah, I'm going to set this vise up with some soft jaws. So I'm not messing about with bits of plastic in my normal vise. I think my normal vise is 5-inch. I think this is a 4-inch. Nice small one with soft jaws for handling delicate parts. So that's another story going forward. But yeah, found in a skip. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And we will see you all very soon. Cheers now.